Moving on to business, continued from a prior meeting, Ed Walsh, 297 Pawtucket Boulevard, concerning DEP file number 2060667. Project location is 119 Maple Street, and it's regarding clearing activities in the 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland. If you, Mr. Erickson, if you could kindly identify yourself for the record.
Edward J. Walsh, 297 Pawtucket Boulevard, Lowell, Massachusetts.
As a point of procedure, Craig, do we have all the green cards back on this?
That's what I'm checking right now. I don't believe we have all of them, but there are definitely some. So,
Do we have proof of service of all the butters?
I think we have, I believe it is complete. Is that right, Steve? Is this Steve Erickson, the engineer that's representing Dick Boyle?
I'm Stephen Erickson, North Environmental Services. We re-notified all of the abutters from the initial filing. We had the list that was still up to date, so everybody was re-notified on that.
Do you have the cards and the proof of service? We do not have them yet.
Craig has those cards. He's going through them right now.
on a very quick check, I'm going to go through them, but they have the list. It looks like they have slips that they sent them all out, but they clearly don't have all the return green cards yet. And they did present an improved and acceptable abutter notification sample.
All right, okay.
The Commission will remember from our prior hearing, there was evidence of an alteration of the resource area on this property. The site was giving an enforcement order. We went out trying to determine which areas got altered. We found a 1988 plan that was flagged by IEP, Interdisciplinary Environmental Sciences at the time. That was surveyed by Dana Perkins. That plan was approved at one time, so we have a 1988 wetland boundary. We reflagged the wetland boundary, had it resurveyed, and we have overlaid the two. All right? Usually I'm loud now. So we resurveyed the property, and the plan that you have in front of you shows in the light green, the inner area is the boundary as flagged by North Environmental Services recently. The darker green or outer boundary is the 1988 boundary. You'll notice that there's some difference in the boundary up here and out on the side. I think those differences are simply differences in flagging. The regulations have changed a bit from 1988 to 2010. There's no evidence of any activity that was performed out in these areas. There is evidence of activity within this area, and there was tree cutting and grading within that area. So it appears that 18,000 square feet of wetland area was altered. I don't know when that was altered. Some of it was obviously done recently. Some of it may have been done any time between now and 1988. We had a little bit of difficulty with the snow, getting all the survey done, getting all this material together. So I'm just submitting to you tonight a wetland restoration plan that we would use to restore this by planting trees, planting shrubs, and a wetland seed mix. We'd be excavating out this area down to the existing grade, the prior grades, planting the trees, planting the shrubs, and returning it to its normal condition, the normal situation. We have a planting plan, we have a schedule for inspections, and a proposal to restore that wetland area to the original conditions. We realize, of course, that you're just getting that tonight. We've just finished preparing it, so we don't expect you to make a decision on that, but we're here to take any suggestions that you might have, to submit that material, to give you the opportunity to review it, and to see what other suggestions that the commissioners might have on restoration of the altered wetland.
Given the current state of snow cover, obviously, when are you planning on starting the restoration?
The best time to start would be sometime after April 15th. The growing season is roughly April 15th to October 15th, so we wouldn't want to start it until at least after April 15th. We would put erosion controls between the existing wetland area, excavate this area out, and then begin the plantings. But April 15th is the earliest that we could reasonably start.
How long do you anticipate the project or the restoration to take?
It looks like it would take several weeks to get it all done, to excavate the material, to grade it out, and then to plant the trees and plant the shrubs back in. It would be a 2-week project.
Now, as far as the excavated materials, what do you plan on doing with those? Are they going to be placed back in site, or are they going to be removed from site?
There's plenty of room on the property where it could be spread out and used. The rest of the property should be revegetated as well because it's all bare right now. So it should be at least seeded with a grass seed mix or some other mix. It isn't reasonable to restore the wetland and to leave the upland areas just bare. It has to be revegetated and stabilized at some point in time.
Right, Ann?
Will the grades be the same as the 1988 plan when you're finished?
Yes, we do have the topo from the 1988, and that's what we're looking to do, is put it back to similar grades that it was in 1988. We have to, we're going to get this down to roughly the pond elevation, not below the pond elevation, because we're looking to create a bordering vegetated wetland, not to increase the size of the pond. We're trying to replicate in kind. So we want this to be at roughly the pond elevation at the surface, so the water will be at the surface, but it won't be inundated. It may suffer some inundation during the spring months, but that wouldn't be a problem. That would be beneficial to it.
Have you stockpiled the wetland soils that were removed?
The soils that were removed are on site, and there is a lot of hydric soil that's still available on the site. We have a process or a procedure for amending the soil if it's necessary. We have as part of the restoration plan, we're suggesting that a wetland scientist be on site to verify the soil conditions, that it is appropriate. If it's not appropriate, if we don't have enough hydric soils, then we would end up amending that soil with composted leaves.
Have you submitted a sequence of work as to how this would be undertaken?
We've submitted a restoration plan. If you'd like a sequence of work, a construction sequence, we could do that. We haven't provided that yet at this point, but that's a reasonable suggestion. We could add the timing to that as well, dates.
Thank you.
So this may just be from the photocopy here, but looking at the hatching for the restoration area, does
Yes.
it go all the way out to this point on the right side as we're looking at it, or?
It went all the way out here according to the 1988 mapping.
Right.
So, we could conceivably this land doesn't look like it's really usable in the future. It doesn't look like it would be developable property. If it was necessary to expand that wetland, we could do that. What we did was just go for a 1-to-1 to restore what was, by record, what was there.
Right, so I guess since I can't tell from this, that 18,000 square feet does not currently include that little sort of spit off to the right.
The little circle here?
No, the extended area, is that included in the 18,000 square
Yes,
feet?
it is.
It is, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Bob?
I don't have any question.
Alicia?
It says in here that you have monitoring requirements. Now, how long exactly will we be monitoring the restoration area after the restoration is completed?
The Wetland Protection Act requires that it be monitored for 2 growing seasons, 2 years essentially, to be sure that it's revegetated, 75% revegetated with over 50% wetland vegetation for 2 growing seasons. The commission has the option of extending that if they want, but 2 seasons is usually sufficient. I know we're dropping a lot of information on you very quickly. I don't expect you to review it tonight and give me all your suggestions. You know, if you want to look at it and take your time and get back to us on any other suggestions that you have, we're open to that. We've just been trying to get this done so that the commission knows that we are working on it. But it's just difficult to work with 3 feet of snow these days.
Well, Mr. Erickson, I, for one, I mean, we just got your, memo and history in association with the filing tonight, and I'm just looking at it now. I for one, would like to review that prior, and I'm not going to sit here and take a half an hour to do that, to read through it.
I think that's perfectly appropriate.
What I am going to do right now is, Craig, are we satisfied with the butter notification?
Yeah, again, that was one of the major issues with the initial filing. Having checked the materials that were provided tonight, the sample notice is sufficient. They do have at least stamped cards that they were sent to all the interested parties, and they have more than half of the green cards returned.
Okay. Are there any further questions at this point from the commission?
I don't know if I'm recalling correctly, but had you talked about possibly doing another construction project on this after the clearing was done?
There are no plans for that at the moment,
Yeah.
but there actually is, besides the existing foundation that is on the site, or the existing buildings that are on the site, the foundation for a second row of buildings was poured a long time ago. That is essentially ready to construct. It was then filled with stone, and that area is being used as a parking area. If the economy picks up, or if the owner wishes to develop that, then it's ready to build. It doesn't require any grading other than removal of the stone that's on there. So there are no plans for that right now, and I would assume that they would come back to the commission prior to actually doing that work. But the foundations, the footings are in place that would be ready to go in a very short period of time.
I'd just like to say that you would assume, yeah, they would be required.
Yes.
To file a notice of intent.
That's correct.
All right, at this point in time, any further questions? At this point in time, I'm going to open this up. Is there anyone who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this matter? Kindly step to the podium and state your name and address, please, for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Conservation Commission, my name is Mark Goldman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. And I wish to be recorded in favor of this, from what I've heard tonight. It seems like this will be a good project, and it fits into the neighborhood character. You know, whatever the commission decides to do, and I'm assuming now that you're going to continue this. And I will probably speak again on this after that. But whatever conditions you impose, set of conditions, I would also favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this project? Chair notes that there is no one else. We have 2 options. When we can proceed with this project, I think the more prudent option at this point in time is to continue. Is that your request to continue this, Mr. Erickson?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Without further discussion,
I move to continue this.
do I have a second?
Second.
we have a roll call vote on this. I'm going to do it all. Ann?
Aye.
Louisa?
Aye.
Chair, aye.
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 All ayes, none opposed. The notice of intent is continued. The next meeting is the fourth Wednesday of this month. The date is, I should have that, February
23rd, I believe.
23rd. Okay. And we will see you back at that point in time. Okay? All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item, a request for determination of applicability, also continued from the prior meeting. Todd Wokels from the City of Lowell. Project location is 791 Pawtucket Street. It's the demolition of a vacant property and filling of a foundation.
Good evening. Todd Wokel, Construction Manager. Hello.
I was not at this prior, this one's not ringing a bell for me. Can you just give us a brief rundown of what you're planning?
Yes, what we'd like to do is demo this small building on the site. Presently, the building it's a small shed-sized building. This property was gifted to the city. It abuts a park. Our intention is to demo the building and take out the foundation that's underneath it, and we'd like to fill that foundation in and lumen seed the property.
Is this along, what, the Pawtucket Canal?
It's on the river.
It's on the Merrimack side?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, all right.
This is that little building at just beyond the west end of the park there?
There's actually an ice cream stand down the street from it, across from UMass parking lot. I believe there used to be a tire company that used to manufacture tires in that area.
Okay.
Across from the animal rescue facility.
Right, so it's kind of beside that, the bridge over the railroad tracks there?
Yes, exactly. There's a walking path, the park area there, right on the river.
Right.
And this building abuts that. Presently, there's a fence around this little building.
Right.
It was a powerhouse at one time for a particular mill that was in the area. And what our intention is to do is to demo the building, like I say, take the fencing out, and just clean the area and lumen seed the property.
How far? oh, I'm
There's
sorry.
no site contamination or anything from its historic uses? Okay.
No.
How far are you from the river? How far is this building from the river?
I would say about 60 feet.
Right, and any sort of, can you describe tree cutting that you're going to need to do around it in order to do that, and vehicles that you're going to need to get in there, and any sort of regrading that you're planning on doing?
We anticipate there'd be some smaller trees in the area around the fencing area. There's a driveway going to the site. If you look at those pictures, you'll see a couple Jersey barriers. We'd move those concrete barriers. And then from that, we'd go in there and we'd take the fence down, and some smaller trees that have grown overgrowth, we'd take those down, and then the building. There wouldn't be a substantial cut in that vicinity as far as trees.
How long do you anticipate this to take?
We're waiting on funding to support this. Presently, we don't have the funding, but when funding's available, we'd like to proceed.
No, I don't mean when you're going to start. I mean start to finish.
The project, I would
Right.
say it would take probably about 3 to 4 days. It's not substantial in size. The most 3-4 days.
It's sitting on a concrete pad?
It's actually has a foundation. There's a, if you look at the site, it's open. It's actually got an open floor, and it goes down about 4 feet. So what we really want to do is we want to fill that in. It's open right now to the weather, and it's just a detriment to the area, and we'd like to correct it by taking it down.
Okay, and what do you plan on doing once it's removed with that area? You're going to
Presently, our intentions are to put the clean fill, lumen seed it, and leave it, and there's no plans for its future use at this time.
Okay, thank you. Ian, any questions?
How big, the lot is 50 by 55 feet, is the building, is that the whole area of the building?
That's the size of the lot, I believe.
The building's smaller?
Yeah, the building's small.
So do you have a figure for how much is getting filled, or
Excuse me?
how much is getting filled?
Built?
Yeah.
We're actually not going to be building anything. We're
No,
just...
no, fill.
Oh, fill. Just the area that surrounds that little building. I would say it's 15 by 15 that would have to be filled. The grades aren't going to change.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Varnum?
Would you anticipate that you would have materials on the site, stockpiled on the site for a day or two or more during work?
I would request that the demolition company would take the remnants off the site as soon as possible. I wouldn't expect there'd be anything on the site. In 3 days, everything would be off that site. Would be from beginning to end, anticipate 3 to 4 days.
Are there any hazardous materials in the building?
No, there's no hazardous materials.
Any further questions?
So you said it's about 60 feet from the river. Would you anticipate having to do any of the work from the riverside in the 50-foot buffer?
No, we don't anticipate to.
Okay, thank you.
If you'd like, we could put a silt fence up if that's a recommendation of the board. We can do that.
Mr. Millen?
Is the property going to be retained by the city of Lowell after you do the work, or it says it's privately owned?
This was acquired by the city as a gift. The city has no plans of selling it at this time.
Okay.
If,
Thank you.
the probability that we might, expand the walking path over there on the river, that could be a possibility for that site. It's a nice area for people for a walking path. If they wanted to extend that, the city would have the availability to do that in the future. There's a lot of positives that are there for potential.
Do you plan on cornering it off at all for people that will be walking by there during demolition, or just telling people to stay away?
Well, what I would want to do is I'd want to leave the fencing area until we were done with the building, and then we'd take the fence down after. I'll be out monitoring the demo as it moves forward.
All right, are there any further questions or comments from the board? All right, is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this request for determination of applicability?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Mark Goldman, 58 Oakland Street. I think the idea of having this as an extended walkway would be great. It links what the city has been doing in the river walkway and the greenway areas, and it would be a valuable asset to the community. So I wholeheartedly support this and whatever conditions you will impose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this determination of applicability? All right. Doesn't seem to me that the proposed demolition is all that extensive that perhaps we could consider a -3 on this. However, perhaps a -3 with some conditions in order to limit the scope of the project and to place some siltation down bank or down gradient from the demolition work. So just your thoughts and concerns, and open it up for discussion between the commission at this point. All right, if there's no discussion, do we have a motion? We can either go forward that it is applicable under the act, or that it's not, or we can -3 it.
I move that this project is applicable. However, -3 would be appropriate, and with the provision that siltation fence be installed between the construction site and the river, and that tree cutting along the river would be confined to an area 10 feet from the rear of the property, or rear of the building.
Okay. Do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay, so moved. Do we have a roll? Ian?
Aye.
Louisa?
Yes.
Chair, yes.
Aye.
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 It's unanimous, all in favor for a -3 determination, none opposed. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Have a good evening. Moving on, request for determination of applicability. Duville Senior Care Center, 981 Varnum Avenue, the project location, 981 Varnum Avenue, and construction and maintenance of a building and associated landscaping. If you could kindly identify yourselves for the record.
I'm Matt Kittner, I'm Director of Building Projects at Duville.
And John Noonan with Noonan and McDowell.
If you want to tell us what you're planning.
Good evening. Currently, Duville Senior Care has a paved area in the back corner of their property with a garage and a shed and a compactor located in the general area. Everything around it is grass, lumen seeded, and there's a scrub line that runs along in this location. What we're proposing to do is within part of the existing paved area and lawn is construct a proposed maintenance building, which would be serviced by the existing parking lot that's in front of it. The pavement that is being removed, along with the proposed building, is resulting in a reduction in surface runoff or impervious area, and also a reduction in stormwater discharge. We're taking the roof water and recharging it back into the ground. So there's going to be no increase in stormwater and a reduction in impervious surfaces. Also, the existing paved area comes within 16 feet of the existing bordering vegetative wetland. So we're going to pull that back, cut it back so it's 25 feet away. So under the proposed conditions, the existing pavement will be further away than what's currently there. It's going to be cut out and not returned. So we're actually putting a 45 onto the corner of the existing parking lot, provide more of a buffer, natural vegetation area between the existing wetland and the impervious surfaces. The building will be sewered by the existing sewer that is on site and the existing water that is on site. There will be floor drains within the building, so if anything comes off the vehicles, it will go into the floor drain system to an oil grease separator and then into the town sewer. So it's not expected to create any type of dirty water or dirty water discharges. And that's basically what's proposed. Everything that's being done is within areas that are already developed and being used by Duville.
Are you in receipt of the Jill Provençal's from the DEP's comments regarding
No, I'm not.
this RDA?
Nope, sorry, they're a little clarification. There's a few things that have all been continued from the last meeting. Those are in regard to TEC's proposal that's coming up.
That's not in association with this?
The information that I provided you from Jill Provençal is in regard to stormwater concerns with the TEC notice of intent.
All right, I'm looking at the wrong one. Did we not have comments regarding this?
There were no written comments provided with this RDA, but there is the informal feedback we received from DEP regarding the stormwater for the site.
All right. This, what you've proposed under the RDA, how does this overlap with, there have been one prior notice of intent regarding this back corner of the Duville site, probably about 6 years or so ago now. And with respect to the construction of that shed that's in that northeast corner, what what has changed since that notice of intent? And it would, by the way, which was just, I believe we had just issued a COC on that. What has changed since that and this present, as far as the site goes, as it exists now, the way we're looking at it?
That previous activity, which we did receive recently, a certificate of compliance, was for activity in this location down here. It was for the removing, there was a garage in the back section of the provincial house, which went underneath in the back. And we removed the provincial house, we took out the garage, the driveway associated with it, and it was all loomed and seated.
Didn't it also involve movement of that shed that's in that northeast corner?
No, it did not.
If memory serves me correct, didn't we have some action on that a number of years ago?
You aware of anything?
No, I've been there for 12 years, and that shed's been there probably for maybe 35 years, I would say. It was a screen house for the nuns at one time.
Yeah, and I know this from the database that I have for the site, which goes back to 94. That structure was always there.
All right, now, as I'm looking at your plan, I'm seeing some site regrading along the northerly boundary.
Correct. What we did was we wanted to make sure that we weren't trapping any water. So rather than having it flow directly onto the pavement where it currently does go and across towards the wetland, we took it to the north so it has a longer flow path in a grass location. So we just created a grass swale basically to make sure that we weren't trapping any water in that location. And it actually results in a longer flow path and a cleaner flow path because it's just keeping grass water within vegetated areas.
Is that infiltration field a new structure?
It's a proposed structure.
Where are is this just the swale that you're proposing, the gradient is from west to east, basically? Or is it also collecting from your, at least your colored portion of the map and flowing towards the west?
There's like a high point in this location, so whatever water's flowing down in here, or it's in here, is just getting picked up and carried up in that direction.
Right. Where is that water going now?
Oh, it continues on straight across onto the pavement, easterly right into the wetland.
And that's over an impervious surface now? What's on that eastern boundary now between the impervious surface and the wetland?
It goes from grass into shrub and then drops down into the wetland area.
All right. And so you're proposing collection are there any catch basins proposed at all?
No, there are not.
All right, so this is just all overland?
Correct. We're intercepting whatever may be in this location, in a sense, reducing the flow, so it's just what's ever remaining impervious surfaces continuing in this direction and sending all this water up that way to the north.
Where are your, I'm seeing some dark lines, so where are your property bounds for Duville? Okay. All right, so that line that runs diagonal from northwest that's not a property bound, or it's just a separate part? No, up towards the middle of the map, yeah.
We have a number of interior parcel lines that are in quasi-relationship ownership for different parcels within the facility.
Can you explain the infiltration field, please?
It's basically Caltech chambers in crushed stone. So the roof water is collected in downspouts where it goes to a collection structure here, and from there that collection structure has T's on it, and then it goes into the infiltration system. The infiltration is set above the 2-foot requirement, It also is sized based on a constant head borehole permeability testing. So it's based on DEP-approved methods for doing the infiltration testing. There is a detail of the infiltration system on sheet 3, if you wanted to take a look at it. So you can see that the precast concrete drain manhole has a series of 4 Schedule 40 PVC pipes that have T's at their inlet that then go into the infiltration system. So, and it does have a sump also with it, a 4-foot sump. Even though it's getting roof water, it should only be clean water, there's also safeguards put in just in case a leaf may get through or something may be in there.
What's the maintenance requirement for that system?
Well, basically, where it's just roof water, it's not something that's receiving dirty water. So if anything, it may just be a 1-year inspection, take a look at it, make sure there's nothing floating around. But it's not collecting dirty water, it's just clean water. This is just put in there as a safeguard. I typically just don't like going into an infiltration system, even if it's roof water, unless there's some type of preventative device in the beginning, just to safeguard it, because it is expensive to rebuild it if you had to.
This isn't collecting any runoff from any of the parking areas?
No, it's not.
Okay. Ann?
So would it be possible to size it so that it did pick up runoff from the parking areas rather than just letting it flow off into the wetland?
In order for us to do that, we would have to do something along the wetland edge down at this location.
Okay.
And then to carry a pipe from this location back. I can keep this relatively shallow because I'm only dealing with 18 inches, enough cover for a roof drain.
Right.
If I start getting into a structure down here where I need to have 30 inches or more on the pipe, I probably wouldn't have my separation to seasonal high groundwater. I definitely wouldn't have my separation.
And how many square feet of impervious surface are you reducing it by taking off that?
224 square feet, I think, was the reduction.
Okay, thank you.
Alicia?
Is the proposed erosion control fence unrelated to this building, or is that?
I put that in there just to safeguard the resource.
Okay.
All right, you're changing the runoff pattern from your site. I guess my questions are, you've already commented that this is clean water only, it's just roof runoff?
Well, the roof water, yeah, excuse me, the stormwater roof system goes into an infiltration system. The only thing that we're doing is putting in a swale between the hill and the edge of pavement to collect the grass area so that it can flow freely to the north and then into the shrub area.
Okay, but the water that's flowing into the swale is essentially roof runoff?
No, it's just grass. It's just grass
No,
water.
the water,
The stormwater.
correct.
Correct, yeah, just whatever falls on the grass, so it doesn't get caught in a puddled area back here, so it can continue flowing out by gravity.
All right, have you, I mean, do we need to see peak flows and velocities on this? Since you are changing,
No, because it's a reduction in stormwater, because we're reducing impervious cover, and the stormwater is still going to where it's flowing, to the northeast.
well, have we reduced runoff from the site?
Oh, we have, yeah. If you reduce impervious surfaces, you reduce runoff.
Okay, but we haven't seen these calculations at all, though.
No, I have not done any stormwater calculations. I only did stormwater calculations to size the infiltration system for the roof water.
Say that again?
The infiltration system is sized for all the water it's collecting from the proposed maintenance building.
So
It's not sized for the surface flow because the surface flow is not
okay,
getting
so
into
the
it.
infiltration system is picking up the roof runoff alone?
All of it, 100%.
Okay.
For all
And-
storm events.
And that's a totally enclosed system?
Correct.
Okay.
And that in itself, in addition to reducing impervious surfaces, is either going to further reduce our stormwater surface discharges.
Now, with the infiltration field, is that, again, what's the rate of discharge from that?
There is no discharge from it. Everything is absorbed and infiltrated back into the ground.
Well, I suppose that's what I meant. That's going to be able to handle?
100-year event, everything.
Okay. All right, I don't have any further questions. Any other comments or questions from the board? Is there anyone here who would like to offer their comments or concerns regarding this matter, the request for determination of applicability? Just give me a second. All right. We can proceed. We can proceed in, I suppose, three different ways. One, that it is applicable under the Act. Two, that it isn't, and obviously, that it isn't with the work being proposed is within the buffer zone, but not likely to alter under a -3, and condition it appropriately. So. I have to make the comment that, I mean, typically we see work of this extensive nature, especially, with respect to site regrades in close proximity as we are here. I mean, we're doing regrades within 50 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland. And, we're installing some, an infiltrator that's not a simple device. I mean, we typically see these coming under, at least coming to us under a notice of intent. This is not simple work in this particular case, and and just a comment from myself is that, I mean, this is the type of thing we can say, yes, it's applicable. You know, it's one of those things, you're obviously doing work within the buffer zone. So, you know, clearly the act applies. The question is whether or not the work is of such a nature as to alter the resource, or significantly impact upon the resource. And you know, that's the option here, is whether we can issue a -3 determination on the RDA. You know, clearly the act could apply to this. It's the type of thing where, you know, we as a commission, we like to keep a little bit of control over these projects and see this come back to us on a COC or certificate of compliance, that this project was built, you know, in accordance with the plans before us. You know, if we go with a negative determination, that's the last we see of this. And the applicant in this particular case would be free to, you know, alter, change, you know, or not build this out, you know, as designed, and that's concerning.
We can provide an as-built.
But there's no obligation at that point in time, and that's my comment.
Could I just, you know,
Absolutely.
add to that comment? I would be in charge of the project, and I've been working at Duval, you know, for 12 years, and we've, you know, been before you guys before, you know, with certificate of, you know,
Well, you've been before us with notices of intent.
notices of intent.
Yeah,
and
I mean, it's not a level of trust as much as it's a level of oversight and control.
I understand. I just wanted to give you my word that, obviously, you know, we care, you know, we're not out to, you know, ruin any, you know, any wetlands or hurt anybody. That's, you know, we're kind of a different, you know, group up there. You know, we're trying to do, you know, improve things, so just to put that in there.
I appreciate that, but as I said, typically we see work of this nature as situated like this, coming before us with a notice of intent. It's typically when we see, or when we, and you were just here for a prior negative determination, it's a very small project, it's sort of an inconsequential, you know, building with very minor alterations to the area around it. I'm not seeing that here. There's some fairly significant regrading. There's a sophisticated structure being built within the resource area. You know, there's a whole rechanneling and redirection of surface runoff from the northeast corner of this whole site. I appreciate that your site is huge. I mean, you know, anyone who lives in the city is aware of Duval Manor, and it's a beautiful, you know, it's a beautiful campus. And you know, you've done some wonderful work out there over the last 10 years or so. But you know, but again, I can't escape the fact that this is not it's not the type of work, not the type of project that we normally would issue a -3 on. That's just my comments. You know, I know we didn't have any other comments from the board, but it is open for a motion, and I'm just gonna, you know, I'm gonna shut up now and
Thank you.
hear what the rest of the commission has to say.
I feel that this area is of concern, just because the drainage area in question is the Clay Pit Brook, which, as you know, has received quite a lot of press lately due to flooding concerns. I know you do have a large area of wetland on your property to the north. And I think that there's probably a possibility for many more small projects coming in here. My concern would be that each small project would eventually multiply and become an impact of significance to the Clay Pit Brook.
Do I have a motion on this? Just to open it up.
I'd move to declare this project applicable and that notice of intent should be filed.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Open for discussion before vote. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? Ann?
Aye.
Louisa?
Aye.
Chair, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The board has voted that the act does apply, and that we would expect a notice of intent on this particular project. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll pull it off the board for you.
Moving on, a notice of intent, Boot Hydropower, Inc., care of NL North America. DEP file number 2060671. The project location is Broadway Street Bridge over the Pawtucket Canal. They're proposing bridge deck repairs to the south side of Broadway Street Bridge over the Pawtucket Canal. If I could have you identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for the record, my name is Jody Trumpio. I'm a principal and project manager for TEC Incorporated in Lawrence, Mass. I'm accompanied this evening by Ms. Angela Jolly from our office as a project engineer on the project. On behalf of Boot Hydropower Incorporated, care of NL North America, we are here this evening to file a notice of intent for the proposed bridge repairs. During my presentation this evening, I'd like to highlight the existing conditions of the bridge, discuss the proposed repairs, and highlight the areas for which we will propose some best management practices during construction in regards to protecting the resource area, which is the Pawtucket Canal. I've provided some graphics for your use, as you can see on the television. These photos represent the existing conditions of the bridge. You are all probably very familiar with this bridge and its existing roadway condition. This bridge is very old, originally constructed well over 100 years ago. Its original construction is a timber deck. It used to support a railroad trolley at one time. Over the years, there has been ongoing maintenance to the bridge. In 1958, there was a complete timber deck replacement. About 15 years ago, the north side of the bridge had a timber deck replacement. In 2007, there was some steel reinforcing applied to the deck to strengthen the deck. And what we believe the south side, because of the poor timber deck condition, was the reason for ongoing slab deficiencies that you see. You'll notice that there's a steel plate that's covering up a significant pothole. There's various potholes that surface from time to time requiring the ongoing maintenance for hot patch repair work. This graphic signifies the cross-section of the bridge deck itself. As I mentioned, the very lowest section of the bridge deck is 2 layers of timber planking. The corrugation that you see is a bridge flooring that was installed in 2007 as a means of reinforcing the bridge deck. And then the top surface is the driving surface, the asphalt overlay that you see with the constant delaminations and potholes. Our impression of what happened was the anchoring mechanism of anchoring into the timber deck surface for that steel flooring is insufficient because of the poor condition of the timber deck on the south side of the bridge. That is the downstream side opposite the Francis Gatehouse. What we are proposing to do is a replacing kind. The north side of the bridge is proof positive that the steel reinforcing to sound timber decking is a suitable retrofit and repair to bring that driving surface into a suitable condition. This graphic represents the proposed work area. You'll note that in order to replace the timber deck, the existing asphalt overlay will have to be stripped completely. The existing steel bridge flooring will have to be mechanically disassembled, and the deteriorated timber planking below that will have to be mechanically removed as well. In order to properly do the work, one lane of the bridge will have to be closed. We have been meeting with the city engineer's office on a monthly basis to discuss these projects along with other projects, bridge projects that are the responsibility of Wood Hydropower in the city. This one in particular, we corresponded to determine what the best option for traffic control would be for this project. Two options being, one, close the road entirely and do the work, and the other one obviously would be to maintain traffic in one direction opposite the work and detouring traffic around the nearest city block in the opposite direction. The city was in favor of this proposed traffic management plan, which is provided in the NOI application as part of the construction documents. Now, we believe that this project is a limited scope project, as it is a bridge repair. It's a replacing kind. There are no net increases in runoff. We are essentially removing and replacing what's in kind. The current runoff stormwater is discharged into adjacent city catch basins, which are shown to either side of the bridge, which is not the property of the proponent. What we do suggest that the proponent do during construction activities is to protect the resource area with a couple of the best management practices that we would like to use on these types of projects. First one being the installation of silt sacks for any construction sediment or debris that is loose and could migrate during rain events, so that the silt sacks in the adjacent catch basins would trap that. We would also recommend, as we have in previous projects, the installation of a sedimentation boom in the canal for any debris, any floatables that would reach the canal surface, be trapped by that sedimentation boom. There is some adjacent green space to the south where we would recommend some sedimentation fence and some hay bales as another means of protecting the resource area. Lastly, acknowledging that this is an active canal system where there are boat tours by the National Park Service below the bridge, that there would be some sort of debris netting installed. One, to protect the resource area. Two, to protect the patrons that are partaking in the boat tours. These are photos that I've provided just to show you some examples of what I've just mentioned as far as best management practices for the construction operations. The top left one signifies a sample of debris netting that would be strung underneath the bridge and over the entire work zone. Top right, sedimentation, siltation boom that would be placed in the waterway, and conventional silt sacks on the bottom left, and the hay bales and sedimentation fences. We had received some initial feedback from DEP in regards to the initial filing that we provided. We have since responded. They were looking for some elaboration on our stormwater memo, addressing all of the standards for stormwater management. As a redevelopment project, we feel that we are obligated to meet the standards to the maximum extent practicable, in which we feel that we have done so. As it is a limited project, in our opinion, and you know, the project area, the private property of the bridge is bounded by the canal walls. There's limited opportunity for improvements to stormwater, for installing a detention basin. It's not on private it would not be on the private property. So we are providing means and methods to protect the resource area to our maximum extent practical. We have provided additional calculations to DEP to prove that there is no change in the peak runoff, and we feel that we have addressed all of their concerns at this time.
All right, I've seen, just since you had just discussed that regarding the DEP comments regarding performance standards concerning the redevelopment of the bridge, what, in your response, have we heard anything back from the DEP regarding the response?
As of this morning, I checked the online, and their comments remain the same as from the initial. I have not. We forwarded a response to Jill Provincial on Friday via email. Our revised stormwater memo was distributed to both Craig and Jill at DEP on Friday. I don't know that has given her enough time to respond formally, but from conversations that both Craig and I have had with her, it seemed that by elaborating on the memo, which we have done, that identifying that we are addressing the standards to the maximum extent practical, that we have satisfied her concerns.
All right. We have a memo from Steve Stoll at the Historic Board, and it's sort of a generalized regarding their part of the process. And since the Historic Board's permit approval is part of your NOI requirement for a complete submittal, can you comment on any impacts that the Historic Board's permit will have, whether adverse, in favor, or that concern our commission? Because I haven't seen their permit. I don't know what their comments were, other than just that you were issued a permit and that you have to follow their particular standards. But other than that, we haven't seen their permit. So if you could address that, please.
Sure. The Historic Board gave a conditional approval on the project, identifying that they acknowledge that the project is replaced in kind. The historical aspects of the bridge will be maintained. The steel trusses from the underside, at the end of the day, because we're just doing a deck replacement, will remain in the same aesthetic. From an elevation view, there's no changes being made to the ornamental handrail, and the driving surface and the timber sidewalks will be the same as it is today. So they were in favor of and acknowledging that there was no significant detriment to the historical aspects of the project.
All right. Now, what I would like you to do is discuss, I guess, somewhat in detail what methods you're going to take. You've described what you intend to do. Tell us what methods and procedures that you intend to do and take in order to identify and protect the resource areas that we're concerned with here.
Certainly.
During the scope of the project. First of all, start to finish, how long do you anticipate this to take?
This project is estimated to take roughly 4 months. The lane will be closed permanently for those 4 months. It's not something that can be opened up at the end of every day. And this is topic of discussion at our monthly meetings with the city engineer's office, the historic board, and the various abutters. So it's something that once we secure both the environmental clearance for the project and the historical permit, which we've already secured, the next thing would be is to address any comments from planning and development. We have received some traffic comments regarding our traffic management proposal, and also the engineer's office. So once we gather all those comments, we will revise the construction documents, and then they would be ready for advertisement.
All right. Now, if you could discuss impacts to the localized resource areas and what your plans are.
Certainly. To protect the resource area, once the traffic setup is established, where from the top side, you would be installing the temporary concrete barrier that you see around the shaded timber area that isolates the work zone. We would install the hay bales and the silt fences as a form of sediment control on the downstream side of the bridge. There's a timber working platform that would also serve as an additional means of containment on the outboard of the bridge that you see just to the up sheet of the timber deck replacement on that graphic. The timber netting, there would be some coordination with the National Park Service and the canal owners to have the contractor utilize some access via barge or boat to actually get up and install the debris netting to contain any of the mechanical disassembly and selective demolition to remove that portion of the bridge deck. So from the underside, the debris netting will trap any large objects from falling into the resource area. The sedimentation boom in the canal, in the event that there's any floatables or silt or anything that could travel down the canalway, will be trapped downstream immediately adjacent to the project site. And from the top side, if there's any silt or sediment from trucks, construction vehicles or whatnot, in rain events, the silt sacks will be installed to trap that and prevent that from going into the closed drainage system. Now, as far as the actual process to remove the bridge, construction vehicles such as an excavator can pull and actually strip the pavement away from that steel flooring. The steel flooring is bolted down into the timber, so that would have to be mechanically removed in panel sections. And then the timber decking, which is nailed to the tops of the steel trusses, again, would either have to be saw cut by a chainsaw or removed, peeled back with an excavator. And again, with the implementation of the debris netting and the various other containment measures, that the resource area, in our opinion, would be protected.
Craig, have you received any communication from Joe Provençal at the DEP regarding her initial comments?
This is actually my understanding from several conversations with DEP that it's pretty rare to get the kind of feedback that we received on this, actually. That typically how it's done is the Mass DEP feedback is more generally made available on public access, their website with the DEP file numbers. In this instance, I was seeking some clarification, as I assume Jody was, with the comments, so I reached out to DEP and we got the email that I sent to you and also to TEC regarding their position. It's actually not typical for them to have their employees personally clarify those comments. So this was a service to us to help us with this decision. I have not received anything other than the email that I showed to you regarding the information that was initially provided or the updated information that TEC has put together subsequently.
All right, thank you. All right, I have no further questions. Ian?
I see that you have a lot of plans to catch silt and debris and stuff, but can you comment on what you have planned as far as preventing a lot of dust or maybe liquid, like chemicals, from entering the river, canal?
As far as anything that would come from construction vehicles, say like dirt on the tires or if there was a gas leak or anything like that, the project area would be contained by the gutter line of the curb on the bridge. So if there was a construction vehicle that had an oil leak or a fuel tank rupture, just to name a couple of examples, that would be locally contained within the roadway system.
You won't be using anything on purpose, like for cleaning or?
Oh, no,
No,
no. I mean, typically, for dust control is, you know, they would have a mist spray if they needed to for demolition. It's typical. If they're, you know, not that it would be on this project, but if you were saw cutting concrete, there would be a wet saw that would control the dust coming from this concrete saw. But in this instance, where you're peeling back pavement, the pavement is soft, and, you know, by means of an excavator would strip it and not cause much disturbance to the, or cause for any dust or debris there. Yep.
Will this site be enclosed with some kind of chain link fence or something while you're working?
Right now, the plan is to have the temporary barrier, and you know what? I can't recall if we showed it. I do have our construction plans. And I apologize, I'm probably not gonna be able to see it from this far out, but yeah, if you see on the bottom right, I believe that we are showing a containment fence. There's the vehicular barrier, and then just to the right of that, it looks like there's a fence there. So yeah, we do contain the work area to prevent any, because it's going to be an open site for fall protection and whatnot. The contractor has that responsibility of owning and protecting the site. So yeah, that is something that we are planning to do. Yep.
If that is a little hard to read, you actually have that in the initial plans that I sent you. That sheet there is one of the, either the last or the second to last sheet in the plans that came with their submission.
Nate?
So you said it was about a 4-month project?
Yes.
When, if, providing the weather cooperates and everything else, when would you anticipate starting?
As I mentioned before, once we have the environmental clearance, addressing all the comments, getting sign-off from all the city departments, and when the funding's available from the private entity, some of the things that we talk about at our monthly meetings is how does this fit in with the rest of the activities that are going on in the city. We've been before you with the Central Street project last year. That's been advertised with the goal of completing it before the Folk Festival this July. If this were to become active this summer, it would have the same type of milestone where it would need to be completed by the end of July. So we're talking about a pretty, if everything gets, all the ducks are in a row and everything gets lined up, we're talking about a quick startup, weather permitting, of course.
Okay. And then in your response to the DP, I didn't really say, and maybe I just now glanced at it, see anything addressing what you could possibly do to improve the stormwater conditions. What can you do?
It's a great question, and that's really been the topic of some debate, because the property is bounded by the, I'm going in the wrong direction, is bounded by the canal walls. It's essentially from bridge abutment to bridge abutment. There's no catch basins on the property on the private property of which is the bridge, that you can install a deep sump, or that there's a landscaped area on the private property, i.e. the bridge footprint, where you can do a detention basin. So the opportunity is in fact limited, and what we're trying to convey is that, through construction best management practices, and because of the limited scope that the project is as a bridge rehab, we are trying to address the standards to the maximum extent practicable. And given the nature of the property ownership, it's very limited.
Okay. So looking at those neighboring catch basins there where you're going to use the silt sacks during construction.
Yes.
Are those on city property, or?
They are.
And so would there be potential to get deep sumps in there, or some other alteration to those?
It's something that we could look to coordinate with the city. I just don't know how that relates to ownership and maintenance of something that a private entity would install on behalf of the city. So that's something beyond, I would need to have some feedback from my client and get some recommendation on what to do there.
Yeah, that's something that seems to me that would be nice to have, to make it a little bit better than you're starting with, beyond the necessary repair. But anyway, thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Mellon?
No comment.
I just have one question. Do you anticipate that you're going to have to do similar work on the other side of the bridge once this is completed? Or is this going to be it for the project?
This is part of my client has a vision of doing an immediate term restoration, a short-term restoration, and then a long-term. What we're proposing right here is a short-term restoration. The north side of the bridge, through inspection and through the repairs that were done in '07, that portion of the bridge is functioning, the deck is functioning fairly well. Because it was replaced about 15 years ago. The south side, where we're replacing the timber deck now, that timber is from 1958. So that's the nature of the problems that we're seeing. So that's the short term. The long-term goals is a complete superstructure replacement. It's a new bridge, maintaining the historical aspects of the bridge. And this is part of the monthly discussions that we've been having with the city officials as far as what that long-term solution is. But safety is of importance to my client, and this is something that would address a lot of problems with rideability and whatnot on this bridge.
Any further questions or concerns? All right. I'd like to open this up.
Mr. Chairman, members of the...
Just a second. Let me just... I'd like to open this up if there's anyone who'd like to offer any comments or concerns regarding this project.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Conservation Commission, my name is Mark Goldman, 58 Oakland Street, Lowell, Mass. I wish to record in favor of this. This is a project that needs to be done. The Historic Board itself has a state representative from the Executive Office of Environmental and Energy Affairs, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, since we are also a Lowell Heritage State Park. And with the Lowell National Historic Park also being in favor of this, I recommend that the Conservation Commission approve this, and if you do have any conditions on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goldman. Is there anyone else who would like to offer their comments or concerns? The chair notes that there's no one else here to comment. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Or a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we can proceed. We have a notice of intent. We can proceed and condition this, or obviously we can deny this, and in anticipation of a motion, we can have further discussion. Do I have a motion regarding this project?
I move to issue a Lowell standard order on this project.
I'm assuming that's under the act and under the Lowell City bylaw.
Right.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, Ann?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Farnham? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Ms. Milne?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. A standard Lowell order and under the Wetlands Protection Act, notice of intent, order of conditions will issue. Your comments can be addressed to Craig at this point in time, okay? Obviously, there's a 20-day appeal period that has to go through, and there's some procedural things you have, recordation of the order and whatnot. Okay?
Certainly. On behalf of
Great.
Boot Hydropower, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Moving on, request for certificate of compliance, Nam An, 3 Chestnut Street, Wyndham, New Hampshire. Project location is 1519 and 1527 Middlesex Street, which is the U Plaza. I believe we have the information in our packet regarding this. I would like to make the initial comment and based on a site review. There's a couple of things. One,
Chairman, if I may, before you get too much into
Yeah.
it, that they've actually, because the comments for this were fairly significant, they requested a continuance to be able to further review the materials and come back for their certificate of compliance.
I understand that, and what I would like to, I suppose I'd like to make some comments on the comments that were made. I know the applicant isn't here, but I guess the one most concerning to me is that part of the project was built off-site, and that there's an encroachment with respect to a critical feature of the site. That in and of itself would prevent the issuance of a COC. Some of the other ones can be corrected and addressed, but that one's fairly significant in and of itself. The other comment that I didn't see is normally the commission doesn't grant a COC in the middle of the winter with 2 feet of snow covering the site. You know, we need to be able to see to make sure that the systems are functioning, and they're, you know, the last time that I looked at it, I didn't see any severe problems, but I guess if someone wants to comment, apparently there are some issues other than what's in these comments that may want to be appended to this.
Yeah. So you're aware, the timing of this actually is at the behest of the city. We have asked them to bring an as-built plan for a certificate of compliance because there are several retail areas in the building in that the full occupancy permits have not been issued because of concerns over this issue, over the stormwater infrastructure. So that's the reason that the timing is what it is.
Okay. All right. So the applicant has requested a continuance? All right. I suppose with no further, if there's no further discussion or comments, I mean,
I just have, can I ask a question?
yeah, absolutely.
Did they, I don't have, did we get the as-built? I was just curious.
No, we
how
don't
big,
have an as-built.
Like the concrete pad is and stuff, I mean, do we know?
Again, I was hoping to get to you in your packet, and I actually held your packet back, but I do have them here, and as a bonus, if the will of the commission is to continue the project, then that will give you additional time to review the plans that I have here for you.
Okay.
All right. Do I have a motion to accept the request for continuance? Did they give you any semblance or any idea as to how long? Would they be ready to go, or would they be ready to at least explain and address these concerns by our next meeting?
Yes, the continuance actually said that there was a very slight time conflict, so that they really almost made it for this meeting. So there should be no reason from the request that I received today for a continuance that they would not be ready at the next meeting.
Without, if you could convey to them, Mr. Thomas, that without commenting on the substantive issues with respect to the existing conditions and the comments that have come back regarding this, the commission has historically been very reluctant to grant COCs in the dead of winter with significant snow cover on a project. It's not the type of release that the commission generally feels prudent to issue when the existing conditions can't be observed, and the project as approved cannot be observed by any members. If that could be conveyed back to them also.
Yeah, again, this is a group that we've been working with on several different levels for some time, so this can be further discussed, the timetable can further be discussed at the next meeting. So.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to continue at the request of the proponent? Second?
Second.
Without further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, thank you. Next up on the agenda is an informal discussion regarding proposed changes to an order of conditions issued for 103 Fotine Drive. This is DEP file number 2060668. I had previous discussion with our administrator regarding a letter, I believe, that was submitted by the engineer on this project, Kenneth Lanier, and this was the project where they're doing some slight regrading along a driveway, an existing driveway, and they are extending or enlarging an existing garage along the side of the house. It was conditioned because the work was within the buffer zone, and an order of conditions did issue. Now, since then, the applicant, through his engineer, has been able to resituate, from what I understand, the garage and pull it several more feet away from the resource area. And I believe there were no other alterations. There were no other regrading issues. From what I understood, that the only change was that the actual new building was further away from the resource area. I believe that Mr. Lanier's plan was to come in, and the discussion was whether, whether he needed to at that point in time, or whether or not that this change could be accepted for filing. And I'll open that up for discussion now. To me, at the time, it seemed that we could accept this just for filing. It's a very minor change to the scope of the project, and indeed, it's minor, but it's also lessens the impact upon the resource areas. So.
Was a plan submitted with this request?
No, but to be put in the file, we would need something for them showing the changes.
I think that's one of my comments, that they would need to that he would need to provide a new drawing indicating the change. Any further discussion? We're all on, we understand the change. At this point, I mean, I suppose I'd entertain a motion to accept the change for filing.
I make a motion to accept the changes for filing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. All right, if you could convey to Mr. Lanier to provide an updated plan showing in detail the change to the garage structure and the distance, and the new distance from the wetland resource. Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the minutes. Do we reviewed the November 17th and December 1st minutes of last year. Do we have a motion to accept them?
Just to be clear, once again, I was a little bit ahead of myself. I didn't get the December
Are they-
1st minutes done.
All right, they weren't in the package?
The 17th should have been the first,
All
wasn't it?
right. So we don't have the 1st, we have the 17th.
I move to accept the minutes. I move to accept the minutes of November 17th, 2010.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Craig, I saw two things in the, one I'd like you to comment on. The other one is an update regarding the Mullins Rule. And if you saw in your packets, the affidavit that's required now from board members if they've missed a hearing date regarding their continued or a continuation regarding the process. Just review that and has the requirements under the Mullen Rule. The second thing is if you could comment on the updated fee and would like to open that up for comments from the board also. I know there's some members that have some concerns, so.
Yeah, this is a very preliminary proposal for some slight changes to the way the regulations are defined for the Conservation Commission here. Typically, the commission can set regulations through a vote in any meeting, but we don't have an officially adopted regulation document in our code anywhere. So as part of a review of certain ordinance, current ordinances and potential fee changes that's occurring in the Division of Development Services, this is a very simple proposal for potential items that could be included in a new regulation document to be voted on here. The way that it's set up is that the commission can promulgate regulations as it chooses, and then they have to be adopted by the city council to go into force. So again, this is happening with other similarly minor updates and changes to other ordinances at the moment that are going before the city council. This seemed to be an opportunity to review some of the regulations that are in place. There are very few, really, that the commission here has that are not part of the State Wetlands Protection Act or the explicitly stated in the ordinance. And the ordinance, as it's currently written, is a mirror of the state wetlands guidelines. So again, we have very few existing regulations, but it would seem to be a good opportunity with the other review underway to formalize a document that we can vote on here and put forth to the city council for adoption.
I'd like to take, I'd like to discuss, I suppose, some of these separately. There's an existing $75 fee for determination of applicability. Is there a minimum amount that can be set for that, or is that set by statute?
The RDA fee is one of the regulations here of the commission that's not set by wetland statute. So that would be one of the pieces that would be incorporated in the official document.
Is that, as opposed to setting I understand now it's a $75 flat fee for a filing an RDA.
Yes.
And the proposed change is to increase that to $100.
Yes, that is one potential.
Is that waivable by the commission? Or, for instance, could we say, from $0 to $100?
So I would say that my understanding is that these fees are not waivable. We don't have a sliding scale. What is appropriate and is a potential change is what happens, for example, with a notice of intent. I think in your packet, I also provided a few examples from neighboring cities and towns.
Yeah, no, I understand. I want to just stick to the RDA. I know that some RDAs can be rather complex.
Yes.
But some are, I'm putting a shed in my backyard, and it's a $500 Home Depot shed, and I honestly don't expect a citizen homeowner of the city of Lowell to have to pay another $100 to make a determination whether or not they need to file or not. I'd like to be able to know that in certain instances, in very simple applications, that the commission would either have the discretion to reduce that or waive it completely. So, I mean, some RDAs are very, as you know, are very basic, and can be dealt with very simply by the commission, and oftentimes don't even require any sort of engineered plans or whatnot.
Yeah, again, I believe it's much more difficult to try and create a situation in which the fees can be waived. It is much more appropriate, and is the models that I've seen are a sliding scale. So, for example, if it's a simple difference could be between a residential proposal and a commercial proposal. However, it's chosen to be broken out. And one model could be the way that a notice of intent, the fees for notices of intent are broken down, to try and think about some categories to break out.
So is that are you proposing that that's the maximum amount, $100? Or, I mean, I would like to say, I would like to include, at least for me, a sliding scale on an RDA. I mean, some very simple basic RDAs should have a minimal fee.
Again, this is very far from being implemented. As I tried to explain, this process is very long, that we can discuss the regulations as they exist. If we come to an agreement, vote on that. You come to an agreement and vote on that. That is put forth to the city council, and they have to adopt that for any of these changes to take place. So this is some very simple proposals. As that is written, that's not a sliding scale, that's a flat fee. If the concern for the RDA is small homeowners, then there are ways to create a sliding scale. Again, this exists in other places. We can look for good models or best practices, and we can debate this a little bit and come up with something different potentially, if that's the will of the commission. I'd also encourage you to remember that for RDAs, there is a notice required in the paper. From my experience, that typically runs to be about $100. So that's on top of the $75.
That's on top of the filing fee now, too. So,
Yes.
the goal is to have people recognize and understand that there is a Wetlands Protection Act, that there is a city wetlands bylaw, and to raise awareness of it. It's not, after all, the law is there not to follow a procedure, not to, to follow a form, but it's to protect the resource. I mean, we can't forget what we're here for. And with that in mind, we don't want to put up barriers to some filings that really are very basic and can be dealt with relatively simply, and it's just a question of identifying that there is a significant resource, or that there is a resource and that has value, and that the importance of it, and not every project is as extensive as some of the ones we have seen tonight. Some of them are very, very simple. So, I mean, at least my comment, if this is for comment, is that I would like to see, at least on an RDA, from a nominal fee, because as you know, after all, there is a publication fee that needs to be done. I mean, a couple of $100 project is now ballooning into, twice that. So, and I'd hate to see that be a barrier, or for the homeowner to say, well, I'm not going to follow the procedures, I'm just going to do it anyway. And then, and then they get into trouble otherwise, and they're here before us on an enforcement order. And you really don't want to see that at all. As far as the rest of the fees, at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't really have any significant issue with them. I think some of them are long overdue, actually, so.
So since we're on the topic, would you see then, like if it's a residential project under, with a total estimated cost of under $1,000 or something, have there be no fee or $25 or something? And 100 otherwise?
Yeah, I suppose that's something to look at. I don't know, I don't want to pretend to know what other towns are doing or what other models are available to look at. But that, again, that's obviously something that could be looked at. I mean, you could say, yeah, fine, but you could have a fairly extensive, you could have a fairly extensive regrade or something with, someone's uncle or someone's nephew doing the site regrading with a backhoe that they happen to own, and yeah, it's only going to cost a couple of $100. So, I mean, that might not necessarily be the best, but it certainly is something that should be considered. Yeah. Actually, I misspoke earlier. Just one last thing. With respect to enforcement orders, I know the commission needs, I don't know the procedure, but the commission needs to put in place a policy as to how they intend to mete out any potential fines for violations. Also, we need to discuss, since we are talking fees, we need to discuss how we want to proceed as far as procedure and written policy with respect to any sort of performance bonds on projects. I think that's perhaps long overdue in the city and should be discussed.
Yeah, that's in progress. The stumbling block for that is Massachusetts Regulation 53G, which is under the Wetlands Protection Act. The commission, have the ability to require someone to bond their work. That is, to put money up to guarantee that the work is completed as permitted. If not, that work can be used to remediate any problems. The issue that we've discovered in the past is that the city as a whole, let alone this commission or other commissions, cannot accept the money unless it goes through a more complex procedure. So again, this 53G procedure, which has to be adopted by the city council, gives you the tools to use that authority from the Wetlands Protection Act. That is something that is currently being investigated. And once that is in place, if that is approved and put into place, that would be the avenue through which to look at performance bonds. And performance bonds is another example of things that can fall under a regulation rewrite. Another document for this commission can be something as simple as plan submission requirements that we have. The planning board, for example, has very specific elements as to what size the plans are, what kinds of things they lay out, so that there's some standard and regularity to what we receive. Some of that is described by the State Wetlands Protection Act, and some of it is a little bit up for interpretation. There are standards that I've come to understand for this body and for other submissions here at the city, but again, by revisiting commission regulations, there's a potential to codify that work.
Now, in that regard also, does the retention of an expert wetland scientist, engineer, the appropriate expert on a particular project that the commission requests, does that also fall under a performance bond, or is that a separate process that the commission needs to go through and identify? Because that's also something that's long overdue in the city.
I agree that's another power that's described in the state wetlands regulations, but cannot be utilized at the moment by this body because of this issue with accepting money. Were this, again, to pass this 53G system, I apologize, I don't have the more specific citation because I keep forgetting it, that money would come in a different way. Again, typically the way that's done is that's directly deposited in an escrow account through the city, and then that's actually paid out directly to the consultant. That's not held to guarantee the performance. But that is the same process, and again, can be described in the regulations.
All right, great. That's what I understood, but the Wetlands Protection Act specifically speaks to retention of experts for the assistance of the commission as a part from a performance bond, which is more of a municipal aspect. I suppose that would fall more under state law as opposed to the Wetlands Protection Act. But the Wetlands Protection Act itself does permit a conservation commission such as ours to request the proponent to pay for our own expert for our assistance. But that also falls under the same procedure? I'm trying to understand this.
No, and some of this has been discussed briefly, but there's a fair amount of interpretation as to how to view this. Yes, under the State Wetlands Protection Act, all commissions, all cities, how to say this? You do have the ability to require an outside specialist to review submissions at a price of up to, I believe, $2,500. Currently, however, we don't have the ability to facilitate that process, to accept payment on their behalf. Were it to go forward now, and it's not clear to me that it could occur in this fashion, but it would have to be a situation where the applicant brings on their own third-party reviewer outside of our oversight, really. We could make recommendations, I believe, although I'm not sure. We'd have some input in that process, but we don't have the ability to facilitate that.
All right. To the extent possible, I'd like for that to be explored, and the appropriate city, either through the city manager's office, through the city council, city solicitor's office, that the appropriate parties, be that the commission is anxious to move forward with this, and it gives us a little bit more teeth when we need it. There's critical functions being discussed here that benefit the city, that benefit the citizens of the city, and have tremendous impacts. Especially given the floodplain issues in the city and the flooding issues that can occur in the city. There's some projects, as has been discussed, are fairly simple. Some are incredibly complex, and it would be much desired and appreciated to have this assistance when need be.
Yep, again, we're actively exploring it, and I will make it known that the commission supports this review and look, and trying to see what either this way or other ways in which these powers can be utilized.
Thank you. Any other comments with respect to the fee, the Conservation Commission fee changes as being proposed or discussed in the other items that were discussed? All right, Craig, do you have any comments on the Mullins rule?
No, just that we recently put together an updated form. So again, the Mullins rule is for projects that are continued just between several meetings. So the 119 Maple Street will be a good example that, as you know, and has been discussed, that to vote on it, one must be present for each of the meetings or sign that document to say, I've been up to speed, I've brought myself up to speed for any meeting that I missed. You guys have heard this before. This is just a new form. I wanted so you could see it, so you could have it, and then if there were any questions or it was made less sense, I'm not sure if this is the form you had before, actually, but I believe it's a new form, so it may be new for you.
Yeah, no, it follows the what was discussed in the case. Do we have, I think we have a notice of intent to sign and an RDA.
Yeah,
Two
two
RDAs.
RDAs. Yep, I thought we'd sign them.
Do we have any other discussion items? I don't have them on the agenda if we do.
I'm just trying to think that if there's anything else upcoming. I have not received anything for the next meeting, but we've had several items continued, so those will come up again.
I have a question about the Mullins rule. If, for example, the Maple Street project, we saw, at 5 different meetings, and during several of them, we discussed it briefly, but then continued it. If that was the case, would you fill out this form?
This project is,
If you missed one of those meetings, but not one where, let's say the applicant was there, or...
yeah, this project is one that we're actually most likely going to need to seek a little bit of clarification on because, yes, there have been several meetings, and in a typical fashion, for the meeting that you missed, you fill out the form. But with this application, while the public hearing was opened, the commission had requested certain information to complete the filing. And so the receipt of that information tonight constitute the final elements of their submission requirements. So again, I'm going to have to ask for some assistance probably from the law department as to how to proceed with this, but we'll make sure that we do it in the most open and straightforward way, that we get clarification on when this applies in this instance.
Well, just looking back at it from my perspective, the original meetings that we have had on this were pursuant to the enforcement order. And then today is the first formal filing. There was a prior filing, but it was an incomplete filing without proper notice. And so it was never acted upon. This is a completely new filing, and this is the first action on the new filing. As far as the public hearing process goes, it started tonight. We had the prior enforcement order action where the discussion at that point in time was to file a notice of intent, and that's what we received tonight.
That is my understanding of where that submission stands, but I would like clarification so that we act appropriately.
All right. We should perhaps put that in the form of motion to request an opinion from the city solicitor's office then, as to what the timeline is with respect to the Maple Street project, because I for one know, at least I was not present at one of the earlier meetings, and I believe that's the one where they had made their first submittal that was incomplete, so. And it wasn't accepted. But other than that, perhaps we should put that in the form of a motion then to request from the city solicitor's office their opinion as to how we are to proceed. I mean, they can just review the minutes, you have the attendance as to who was present at the various meetings, and what the status of, the minutes easily explain what was discussed that night, so. Yeah, do I have a motion to request an opinion from the city solicitor's office regarding the Maple Street project?
I'll make a motion to request that the city solicitor send us comments about board members who miss meetings, I don't know how to continue this, that were continued at some time, and whether or not they can vote when the applicant returns.
All right, do I have a second to open it for discussion?
Second.
All right, by Louisa. I suppose my comment, now that it's on motion, I suppose I'm going to comment on my own comment. I suppose the solution to that would be to go back and listen to the tapes on the hearing. We have those, correct?
Yeah, all meetings before tonight, we have still in the old recorded format, and obviously starting tonight, we'll have on a more interactive.
We don't have any
recording.
automatic transcription. All you do is a summary of the minutes. Okay. I mean, I suppose the solution would be just to listen to the prior tapes of anyone that you missed, and that would bring you back up to speed, and it would be a non-issue at that point in time.
Yes, that's what, my understanding without further clarification is that it just acknowledges that you've reviewed the materials, either the discussion through the tapes, which I can provide, and any additional materials that are presented at that time.
Right.
That's part of the reason we keep pulling them off the boards.
I mean,
and
I
asking
don't want
for
to
them.
speak for the city solicitor's office, but I suspect that's probably what they're going to respond with. So, but perhaps not, because this is sort of an unusual proceeding, the way it proceeded.
Yeah, this is not something that typically comes up as much for the Conservation Commission. That's why I've been trying to seek some clarification on this, as opposed to, say, the planning board, where you have filings that extend over a much longer period with many more multiples of meetings.
Well, I suppose the reason why I brought that up is because, at least to me, I feel that the public hearing process on this NOI started tonight. Because everything prior was under the enforcement order, and the prior filing that was made was not a complete filing for opening the public hearing process, and indeed, I don't believe a public hearing process was ever opened on it. So, it's, and we're all here tonight, so, all right. Moving on, can we get those forms for sign, and then we can adjourn.
Is it your wish to sign them before we adjourn?
Say again?
Is it your wish to sign them before we adjourn?
Yeah.
Okay.
On a side topic, any update on a seventh member?
There's been some activity, but still no new member force as of yet.
I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, good evening.